Story 1. The Haunting of Evergreen Manor. The bitter December wind howled through the skeletal branches of the ancient Evergreen Manor, carrying with it a chilling omen of dread. As snowflakes danced in the air, blanketing the world in a frosty embrace, the old mansion stood solemn and foreboding, its windows dark and its secrets hidden within. For years, the townsfolk of Frostwood whispered of the curse that befell the manor, a curse born of jealousy and revenge. Legend had it that long ago the wealthy Evergreen family had been torn apart by greed and betrayal. Eleanor Evergreen, a woman of unmatched beauty and pride, had spurned the advances of a lowly suitor, who vowed to have his revenge. On a fateful Christmas Eve, as the manor was decked in festive cheer, tragedy struck. A fire, its origins unknown, consumed the grand estate, claiming the lives of the Evergreen family. Some whispered it was the scorned suitor's final act of vengeance, while others believed it was the curse of a jilted lover that sealed their fate. Now, centuries later, the once majestic manor stood abandoned, its halls echoing with the whispers of the past. Few dared to venture near, for the tales of restless spirits and malevolent entities had become the stuff of nightmares. Among the bravest souls in Frostwood was Sarah, a young woman with a fascination for the macabre. Drawn to the dark history of Evergreen Manor, she found herself unable to resist its haunting allure. Determined to uncover the truth behind the curse, Sarah embarked on a chilling adventure that would test her courage to its limits. As Christmas approached, Sarah gathered a group of friends eager to explore the mysteries of the manor. There was Michael, her steadfast boyfriend with a rational mind, Emily, her adventurous best friend who craved excitement, and Jake, the skeptic who scoffed at the tales of ghosts and curses. With lanterns in hand and hearts pounding with anticipation, the group set foot on the snow-covered path leading to Evergreen Manor. The air grew colder and a sense of unease settled over them like a shroud. The once grand facade of the manor loomed before them, its windows like empty eyes watching their approach. Pushing open the creaking doors, they stepped into a world frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture littered the grand foyer, and faded portraits stared down at them from the walls. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the silence was suffocating. Sarah led the way, her footsteps echoing on the worn floorboards. As they ventured deeper into the manor, strange sounds echoed through the halls, whispers that seemed to speak of long-forgotten secrets, and the mournful wails of the restless dead. Michael's skepticism wavered as they came upon the charred remains of the grand ballroom. The scorched walls bore witness to the fire that had claimed the lives of the Evergreen family, and a chill ran down his spine. Emily, undaunted by the eerie atmosphere, pressed on, her curiosity driving her forward. It was Jake, the self-proclaimed skeptic, who first encountered the malevolent presence that lurked within the shadows. A sudden gust of icy wind extinguished their lanterns, plunging them into darkness. From the inky blackness emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes burning with unholy fire. Panic gripped the group as they realized they were not alone in the manor. The entity, a twisted remnant of the curse that had befallen the Evergreen family, bore down upon them with a hatred that transcended time. Sarah, her heart pounding with fear, remembered the tales of a way to break the curse, a ritual that required the blood of the cursed and a willing sacrifice. Desperate to save her friends, she knew what she had to do. With trembling hands, Sarah led her friends to the heart of the manor, where the curse was said to be strongest. There, amidst the ruins of the Evergreen family's legacy, she prepared for the ritual that would either free them or seal their doom. As the entity closed in, its malevolent presence suffocating them, Sarah made her choice. With tears streaming down her face, she offered herself as the willing sacrifice, her blood mingling with that of the cursed. A blinding light filled the room as the ritual took hold, and the ancient curse was broken. The entity let out a deafening scream of rage and anguish before dissipating into the ether. Its hold on the manor released at last. Exhausted and shaken, Sarah and her friends emerged from Evergreen Manor, the weight of its dark history lifted from their shoulders. As they made their way back to Frostwood, they knew they had faced true horror and emerged victorious, but the tales of Evergreen Manor would live on, a cautionary reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. And as the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in a serene white, the whispers of the past echoed faintly on the wind, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay dormant within us all. As the final words of the tale faded into the frosty air, the storyteller looked around the gathered group with a knowing smile. The crackling fire cast eerie shadows on the walls of the cozy cabin, and the wind howled outside like a lamenting spirit. Perhaps, the storyteller said, it's best to leave the mysteries of Evergreen Manor buried in the past where they belong. And with that, the group huddled closer together, grateful for the warmth of the fire and the safety of each other's company on this cold Christmas Eve. But deep down, they couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows held secrets yet untold. and that the ghostly whispers of the past would always linger in the dark corners of their minds. Story 2, The Frozen Carolers. Snow fell in thick, heavy flakes, blanketing the small town of Wintertide in a pristine white. The chill of winter hung in the air, and the streets were deserted as the townsfolk huddled in their homes, seeking refuge from the biting cold. Among the quaint cottages that lined the snowy lanes stood an old, forgotten mansion known as Winterhaven Manor. Once a grand estate, it had long since fallen into disrepair. Its windows shattered and its walls cloaked in ivy. Tales of tragedy surrounded the mansion, whispered by those brave enough to speak of its haunted past. Legend had it that on a frigid Christmas Eve many years ago, the Winterhaven family had vanished without a trace. The townsfolk spoke of strange lights flickering in the windows, of mournful wails echoing through the halls, and of a ghostly choir singing haunting melodies in the dead of night. As Christmas approached once more, a group of adventurous teenagers dared each other to spend the night in Winterhaven Manor. Drawn by the allure of the macabre and the thrill of the unknown, they gathered at the gates of the mansion as the moon cast an eerie glow upon the snow. Leading the group was Sarah, a fearless young woman with a fascination for the supernatural. Her friends Mark, Emily, and Alex trailed behind her, their breath forming misty clouds in the frigid air. Pushing open the rusted gates, they ventured into the overgrown garden, the crunch of snow beneath their boots the only sound in the stillness of the night. The mansion loomed before them, its once grand facade now a shadow of its former glory. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, they entered the mansion, the stale air heavy with the scent of decay. The grand foyer greeted them with a sweeping staircase and faded portraits lining the walls, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders. As they explored the mansion, they discovered rooms frozen in time, a dusty dining hall with a table set for a feast that never came, a dilapidated library filled with cobweb-covered books, and a ballroom where ghostly figures seemed to twirl in a spectral dance. Despite the creeping sense of unease that settled over them, the group pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the mystery of Winterhaven Manor. As they delved deeper into the mansion's secrets, they stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading down into the darkness of the cellar. With trembling hands, Sarah lit a lantern, its flickering light casting long shadows on the damp stone walls. The air grew colder as they descended into the depths, the silence broken only by the echo of their footsteps. It was in the cellar that they found it, a forgotten chamber hidden behind a crumbling wall. Inside, they discovered a scene frozen in time, a macabre tableau that sent shivers down their spines. A ghostly choir, their ethereal voices echoing through the chamber, stood before a grand stage. The figures, pale and translucent, were dressed in tattered Victorian-era clothing, their eyes empty and their mouths agape in silent song. As the group watched in horror, the ghostly choir began to sing, their voices hauntingly beautiful yet filled with an undeniable sorrow. The melody filled the chamber, weaving a spell of enchantment that left the intruders paralyzed with fear. Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest, knew they had stumbled upon something far more sinister than they had imagined. With a trembling voice, she spoke the words of an ancient incantation she had discovered in her research, hoping to banish the spirits that haunted Winterhaven Manor. But the ghosts, enraged by the intrusion into their realm, turned their hollow eyes upon the group. With a blood-curdling scream, they lunged forward, their spectral forms passing through the flesh of the intruders. Mark, Emily, and Alex cried out in terror as they felt the icy chill of the spirit's touch upon their skin. Desperate to escape, they stumbled backwards, only to find the chamber door sealed shut behind them. Trapped in the ghostly choir's haunting embrace, the group could do nothing but listen as the spirits sang their frozen carol. The melody grew louder, filling the chamber with a cacophony of voices that echoed off the stone walls. Time seemed to stand still as the spectral choir sang on, their mournful song a chilling reminder of the tragedy that had befallen the Winterhaven family. The intruders, their bodies growing numb with cold, felt the icy grip of the spirit's wrath tightening around them. In a last desperate attempt to break free, Sarah clutched the lantern tightly in her hands, its flame flickering in the oppressive darkness. With a defiant cry, she hurled the lantern at the ghostly choir, the glass shattering upon impact. The chamber erupted into a blinding blaze of light as the lantern's flame consumed the spirits in a burst of fire. The ghostly choir let out a soul-rending shriek of agony before vanishing into wisps of smoke, their haunting melody fading into the cold, still air. As the flames died down, the chamber fell silent once more, the only sound the crackle of embers and the distant howl of the wind outside. The intruders, shaken but alive, looked around in awe at the destruction they had wrought. With the spirits banished and the curse of Winterhaven Manor broken, Sarah and her friends knew it was time to leave. As they made their way back through the abandoned mansion, they could feel the weight of the spirit's presence lifted from their shoulders. Emerging into the snowy night, They were greeted by the sight of the town of Wintertide bathed in the soft glow of Christmas lights. The stars twinkled overhead and a sense of peace settled over the group as they made their way back home. But as they looked back at the crumbling mansion of Winterhaven Manor, they knew they would never forget the frozen carolers whose haunting melody had echoed through the centuries. And as they celebrated the joyous holiday season with their loved ones, they would always remember the chilling night they had spent in the company of the restless dead. The story ended, leaving a hush over the room as the listeners sat in stunned silence. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in a serene white as the echoes of the frozen carolers' haunting melody lingered in the air. And in the distance, the abandoned Winterhaven Manor stood silent and foreboding, its secrets hidden within its crumbling walls.